Hey guys, it's Maymay, and I bet you recognize this PDF file. This is from the mini album that I did on Monday, and I actually put this together for you already. I have printed another one for me because there were several questions that came up from that video that I thought I might can answer by reusing this PDF today. Now, we are going to make a project in this video, and what we're going to make is this little mini album. It's an envelope mini. Let me show you the little envelope flap. You can see that. And it actually comes from this envelope right here. So what I'm going to show you today, and I kind of showed you the other day, was putting this PDF into your brother's Scan and Cut, going back to it later, and being able to cut files from it without having to print this PDF every time. So you're going to see me do a little more explanation of that and answer some more questions while I do it. A couple of things I want to mention to you here though. If you're interested in making this little mini album using this little envelope template, you don't have to have a brother Scan and Cut. You just need this PDF, which you can get from Genevieve Designs, and she has a coupon code for you guys for 10% off, which I will link below, and you can take this little guy out and do it. What I think is so cool is you can do that with a lot of stuff in here. If you assemble this album as it is, you get the one that I did on Monday. But if you come in here and look at all the pieces you get, this creates this little album. By the way, if you'll watch to the end, I'll tell you when I'm going to decorate this for you so you can see it. But you could come through here and pick something else out, and let's say you chose this envelope, which goes together. You could make a mini album out of 4 or 5 of these. So I want to show you how to do that with your brother Scan and Cut. Now I'm going to put a link in the video right here so you don't have to watch the brother Scan and Cut stuff if you're not interested, and you'll go straight to where we put together this little album we're going to do. This is the PDF file that you print out. One of the questions was, where do I print this? You print this to your regular printer. The Scan and Cut does not print. This is something you download from Genevieve Designs, which I'll have a link to her below with a coupon code for her files. And you print this to your printer, and then you can scan it in to your brother Scan and Cut. Notice this little number at the top? Here's what I'm doing. I'm scanning this file into my Scan and Cut and saving the files into the memory of the machine. As I do that, I'm numbering these pages only so I can hang on to this file, and let's say, which we're going to do today by the way, we're going to make a little mini album using this little envelope right here, only this one. So let's say I want a specific part of the file, I can know to go to that number that's saved in my Scan and Cut and get it. That'll make sense in a few minutes because like I said, we're going to make a little mini album using that envelope. Okay, so now I have this sheet that I'm going to scan in. I want to show you what I do. I do not unload the mat. The mat has been here the whole time I'm doing this, and I take the printout, and see how I'm just sticking it here? That's the flat part of the scanner bed. I just stick that there, and then I've already done one, so let me go home. And I'm going to show you what I do. Also, check this little guy out. I found this extra pointer from my Scan and Cut, and I tied it on some baker's twine, used some washi tape to hold it on, and now I won't lose it when I'm working. Okay, so now I'm going to press OK and start the scan. If you're not sure about scanning, I'm going to link the video from Monday where I teach you this in detail, so be sure to go check out that video just for a little refresher if you're not sure about that. So now the brother Scan and Cut has scanned this in, and I'm going to tell it to frame up. Remember how I told you that we want to get rid of some of that free space that the mat is seeing? It just takes up space, and it might even have some weird lines and things that we don't need. So we're just going to frame up our image using our little pointer and then say OK. And now it's going to recognize what we just told it to recognize. So now you can see on the screen that it has recognized that image, and I'm going to tell it to basically lasso it. That's this button here. This button is for if you wanted to do something in the interior. Let me show you, get that screen where you can see it good. And I'm going to tap that button. When you do this, it recognizes everything on the interior of that paper, which clearly we don't want to do because that's the pattern. So I'm going to go lasso these 2 images and tell it to save. Now it's going to ask me where I want to save it. You have lots of options. I'm going to go to the machine, and it's going to save it and then give me a file number. This one is file 13, ironic. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on this paper that I just did, I'm going to write the number 13. So in the future, if I decide, and I'm going to take this off of the mat, off the mat, but I'm going to leave the mat in the machine. You'll see why. So in the future, if I decide I just want that envelope or that pocket, I can go right to that file and cut it out. Now then, leaving this here, I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to go home. It's going to say, are you sure? Yes. Okay. I can now reach across, you guys, and grab another piece of the PDF, put it directly onto that mat, pressing it only at the top. I'm not worried about sticking it down everywhere because it's not going to cut. Go to scan. I should use my little pointer. Scan to cut data and tell it to start. Again, we'll frame it up. Tell it okay. Let it recognize. I'm going to tell it again to lasso this image and then save it. I'm going to save it to the machine. And it's going to give me the number, which is 14, and it is a consecutive number. Now, I want to say this. You might be wondering, why are you writing down the numbers here? I'm scanning this straight into my machine, so it gives it its own file number. If I were saving this into, say, the Brother Scan and Cut Canvas program, I would be able to give it a name. I don't know that program well enough, but I'm going to be learning it for you guys. So for now, I just want to show you how to get started with your Scan and Cut since you've got it, and we'll learn that program as we go. So now I'm going to remove this from the mat without unloading the mat, and this is the last one I need to scan in. I'm going to stick that on. Tell this okay, go back home, and I'm going to scan again. See how much faster you can go when you know what you're doing? This does not take that long. I have scanned this entire PDF in probably 15 or 20 minutes. It really doesn't take that long. Now, a little tip from me to you. While the machine is recognizing the image, I challenge myself to clean up something in my craft room. So if you're like me and you struggle with cleaning up after a project, this is a great time to go, you know what? I've got 1.5 minutes. What can I clean up? And that's literally what I do. So let me go clean something. I've saved the last one. It's number 15. You also might be wondering this, how many pages is this PDF file? This PDF is 12 pages, but I already had images saved in the system, so that's why we're looking at number 15 now. All right, I'm going to go home, tell it okay. Now, all of these mini album pages are saved into the memory of the Brother Scan and Cut. So I want to show you what you would do now. You do not have to cut out just the PDF. Because we've saved it, we can now go cut them out on any paper we want. And today we're going to do that little mini album. Now this is some paper that I want to use for this little envelope mini album, but I want to say something to you. If you wanted to do the entire mini album that we just loaded in, you'd do it exactly like we're going to do. But today I just want to make the little small album using one envelope from her PDF. So here's what happens. I load my paper onto the mat and I click pattern. Now I know that those images are in save data because I just did it. Now I need to go back to my PDF file and find the envelope that I want. This is the envelope that I want, and it's on file 12. So I'm going to go into my machine and I'm going to look for file 12. Now these are all numbered. Okay, I'm going to scroll down until I see 12. Here it is. I'm going to click 12. Now I want you to notice that there are multiple images here, and that's a good thing because I'm going to get that little folder, okay, or that little policy envelope, and I'm also going to get 2 mats that I can use inside of it or on my mini album any way I want. Now I'm going to tell this okay, because that's the one I want. Now I can tell it, if I go right here, I can say I want you to get on the page where you save paper. So if I do this, it's going to move them around and make them save paper for me, okay? But in order to do that, I need to change the orientation of this. This is a scrap of paper that I'm using because I want to use all of the scraps from this paper pad. So now I can say okay because this is going to cut on the scrap, and I can say go. And then I'm going to tell it to cut and start. It is finished cutting. I'm going to pull away the part of the paper that I don't need. So this is leaving behind those images that we cut out. And I'm just going to lift it off of the mat just like this. And I'll leave my mat in the machine. I'm not going to worry about loading and unloading it. There's no reason to do that. Get all these little pieces off. And you'll see I have 2 inserts now for envelopes or page mats, whichever way I want to use them. And then I have this little policy envelope cut out that all I have to do is fold and adhere. So now I'm going to decide how many pages do I want in the mini album. I think I'm going to do 7 of these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out 6 more.
Another incredibly cool feature of the Brother Scan and Cut is this. I told you I'm not unloading my mat every time. I'm just putting my paper back on it. The other thing is when it says finished cutting, I'm going to press OK and I can hit cut and start and go right back at it and not have to reload or anything. So that really picks up the speed.
Now to answer another question that I received from Monday's video, once you purchase this file, you own it, okay? So it saves to your computer as a PDF and you can print this out over and over. The next question was, do I have to have a scan and cut to use it? Absolutely not. This is a PDF file and Jen actually creates these for you to be able to use your scissors only. So you would just cut this directly out from the page with your scissors. And let's say you want to make the same mini album I'm going to make. Instead of printing the entire PDF over and over, you would just choose this particular page and cut these out. So now that we've got them all cut out, I'm going to move these aside and I want to show you what comes next. Next, we're going to do some scoring. Check these out. They're so cute, these little envelopes. You know, I fell in love with this little policy envelope the other day, and so I was like, I have to use these. So I cut out 7 of them. You might think about cutting out 8. If you think you might have a mistake in your design, like if you make a mistake while building it, you might want to cut out 8, but you don't have to. Now what I'm going to do, you could use a scoreboard if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Okay, so I'm going to use a ruler to score today. You can certainly use your scoreboard, but I want to show you how to do this in case you don't have a scoreboard or you just don't want to pull it out for this. I'm using this as a reference, okay? I can see where my score marks need to be. It's really just a square. So once I get comfortable with it, I don't have to have this anymore. And I'm just going to use this ruler. By the way, it's a brand new ruler in the store. It's called the Perfect Ruler. If you're interested in it, it's in there. It's got this grippy part on the bottom, which is why I want to use it for this. I think it'll be cool. So I'm going to line it up for my first score mark here and then press that center to hold that into place so that while I'm scoring, my paper won't go anywhere. Okay, so there's one scored, and I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to score the next one, and you just line them up from edge to edge. You can see where to do it. It's pretty simple actually. There's that one. Then I'm going to come back this way. Now if I'm using my scoreboard, I don't have to go over it as many times, but because I'm doing this on this hard surface, I want to make sure I get a really good score. You could also put something soft underneath it. And then one more down here at the bottom. Okay, so to save time, I'm going to assemble this one envelope with you guys completely and then go away and do the other ones off camera so you don't have to watch all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this guy up on all of its score marks, okay? And then I'm going to seal it shut. So the way I'm going to do that is with some sticky tape. So here's some tape. I can flip this back over. And I only need it in 2 spots on this envelope, which is fun. I need it here on this little flap. And then the other flap, I like to put it inside here because I like this flap to go over the top. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so let's peel away this one's adhesive first. Turn it over here. You just fold this guy down and bring this guy over and let that match up. Okay, and then I like for this piece to go over the top of the bottom instead of being underneath. I think it's cute to show, just like that. And then you can burnish again, and your envelope is all made and ready for your mini album. So I'm going to ink these guys up too with some vintage photo. So I'm going to assemble all the envelopes, ink all the envelopes, and then we'll get right back together. So I have all of my envelopes put together, folded, inked, and ready to go. Now I want to show you what we're going to create. We're going to create this binding. And if you were on my Periscope, you got to help me choose the color and the embossing and everything. So this is the binding we're going to do. What I want to do is show you how I came up with this idea, okay? So I'm going to move this one out of the way because I want you to be able to do this in your own mini albums. When you're making mini albums at home and you're trying to think of your binding, here's what I want you to think of. I like this binding because I think it looks kind of chunky and vintage, and I'm actually making this to be an Instagram album, which chunky and vintage doesn't go with that, but we'll see what happens. So I wanted to bind it this way. Now here's the deal. I took a piece of paper and I cut it to like 2.5 inches, and then I thought, wait a minute, I want to use a border piece. So in order to make sure I get the correct width of my piece, I need to see what my border is going to take off of the piece when I punch it, okay? Because I wanted about 3/4 of an inch to hang over either side of
the pages, just like this. So that's about, no, that's a little over a 1/2 inch that's hanging off, okay? So I needed a good healthy binder. Here's the deal. You're gonna take a piece of paper, let me get one. So here's what you'll do. You'll take the border punch that you're gonna use for your binding piece, and you're gonna go ahead and just punch away a piece from any piece of paper, any scrap paper, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the right color or anything. Then you're gonna measure from the edge of that border, the design itself, okay, how much space it needs to cut away. And this cuts away about 3/8 of an inch. So now I know that whatever size I want this to be, I need to add 3/8 of an inch to both sides so that when I border punch it, I don't lose that length. I hope that makes sense, but that's the way we do that. So now that I have all of my little pieces cut, I have decided, if you're making this same envelope, these guys are 2 inches wide by 3 1/4 tall, okay? So now we need to score them in half. So as I was putting this together, I was gonna do 7 envelopes, but I realized I can't do 7 because that's not an even number, and the way I'm binding it, I need an even number. So I decided to back it down to 6. Well, if I'm doing 6 envelopes, I need 7 binder pieces. So I folded it in half, and now I'm going to use my punch. And I use the back side of the punch, especially for this punch, because it's kind of a tiny little punch, and I can just line it up better back here. So you just line it up in there and give it a punch, and then go to the other side, just line it up just like that. So there's one side punch to do the other. All right, so I'm gonna do that to all of the pieces and get the borders punched. So now I have all those pieces cut and border punched, and it's time to emboss them. And we chose this pretty, I think you say this quatrefoil design. I never get that right. But the cool thing is I can load a bunch of these into the folder at one time. And this makes this really fast work. So we're gonna load as many as we can get in here. Wow, look at that. We're getting a lot in because I think I can still get one on that side over there as well. Look at that. Good deal. All right, I'm gonna emboss these really quick just by running them through the Cuttlebug. And I have an A plate and a B plate. And I'm gonna add another B plate to emboss on top and run it through. Now we just need to ink each one of them up. I'm gonna use some vintage photo distress ink, and I just have a notepad here that I like to use as scrap paper because you can use it over and over. I'm gonna do a really light hand to pick up that pattern. And this vintage photo is gonna help this to sort of match our album. And it really makes this look so vintage. I think it's really pretty with this color. Love it. See how pretty that looks? I'm gonna do that to all of them. Now that I've got them all inked, I'm gonna go ahead and take my sticky tape and put it on either side of the score mark we did earlier. And we'll be ready to bind our envelopes together. So I've got all of those done with their sticky tape, and now we can start to bind. And here's how you do the binding. It's real simple. I'm gonna have the 2 flaps where they close face each other in the book. So you see they close this way, so those are gonna face each other. So I'll have flaps on the inside and solid on the outside. So I'm gonna lay this down like this and take one of these guys and just fold it in half on that score. Now that score kind of disappears when you emboss it, but it really doesn't. It's still there. You'll feel it whenever you go to fold them. Peel off the backing from one side. Don't try to do both at one time. It's just too much to do that. So just peel off the backing from one side, fold it down, and I have to do this right-handed, so I'm gonna flip this guy around. Now, I did not cut these the entire length of this page, of this envelope. I wanted a little bit shy on either end because I think it looks good that way. That way you don't see a whole bunch of messiness that's not perfectly cut on the edges of the book. So this is about 1/8 of an inch shy on both sides. Let me do it that way so you can see that. Yeah, okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna peel this backer off. And what I like to do is lay the next envelope next to it with a little gap between them, okay? I want that score line to kind of lay in between the envelopes. Not too big of a gap, but you can line them up like this and then just grab that second one, and now they are bound together. Check it out. So I want to do that with all of them, and I've already done that with these pages, okay? So all these are bound. Now it's time to put these guys together in book form. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this signature and this signature. We're going to fold one of our binding pieces in half, remove the backer of the adhesive from one side, And then, and then place it down. I'm going to kind of look underneath and kind of match it up with that binder that I put on the first one. Something like that. Stick that one into place. Peel off this second binder. Line this up just like I did earlier. And just lay this across and grab it. And now we have two signatures put together. You can kind of mess with it and line everything up, kind of wiggle it. You got a little space to kind of get everything nice and neat. So you see how we got that nice and neat on the edge. Now we need to add one more. So for this one, we'll peel off the backer again. I should have folded this first, but I didn't, wasn't thinking. All right, I'm going to line this up with the one underneath it. You can see it because it's pale blue, so it's sticking out on that other side, or it's a different color. Now for this one, because there's a little thickness here now and I can't get it to lay flat, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to leave that on the bottom. I'm going to bring this guy to it, butt it up right to the edge, and then flip it around. So that worked just fine doing it that way. And then I know I got a nice lineup. See there? Those are cute, aren't they? All right, let's fold all our little flaps in and see what size we're actually working with here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and take my bone folder and crease those down into place. See if I can get them to stay folded. Good deal. So that's the size of the actual inside pages, but now I want to do a cover. Honestly, you wouldn't even have to do a cover. You could just go just like this and make this an album, and it's super cute. But I want to do a cover. I've cut 2 pieces of chipboard. These chipboard pieces are, let me measure them to tell you exactly how big they are. They are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So they're a little bigger than our mini, and I'll show you why. You want to have a little bit of a border. Let me get it lined up a little bit here. You want to have a little bit of a border around each side to protect your pages and also on the end, okay? I'm going to put these on the same way using the little binder strip. Now here's a tip. If for these parts, you can make this binder strip a little longer, and you can bind it down and adhere down 2 sides and the bottom and create a pocket as well. I'm not doing that, but you could do that. You could also mat these pieces ahead of time if you wanted to, if you wanted these guys to have a little fancy paper on them or something. Not doing that either. I want this to be fairly simple, and I want to be able to decorate it when I get everything put together in whatever way I want. So I added that binder strip to that top page. I'm going to peel it off the back, peel off the adhesive backer piece. If I can get under it, there we go. Now then, this is where it's going to get a little tricky. I'm going to do exactly what I did a while ago. Lay this guy down, but I want to center this where it has an overhang on both sides and then stick it down. So now you see I have sealed that inside of there. Okay, and when you open it, you get that. Cute, huh? Okay, let's do the top. Now for this piece, it's going to be even easier because we're going to let that other piece of chipboard line this one up for us. I'm going to stand this up. I'm going to come down here to the bottom and line up my chipboard at the bottom, get it all lined up, and then press it together. So now my covers are on, my pages are in. Isn't that awesome? Love it. So cute. And see, we see that blue on the outside. I think that's cute. If you don't love that it's so bright blue, just take your ink blending tool and just knock some of that back if you want it to kind of match the fronts of those. Okay. Now, you can leave it just like this as far as the cover is concerned. You can add a closure. You can add a piece to cover this. I actually think that's cute, and I like this about it. Look, it sort of expands. So as I put things in, it has room to expand. I'm going to add a closure of some sort. Here's what I want you to do for me. I'm going to come back on Friday and decorate this album, okay? So Friday's video is this album. What I want you guys to do is tell me what kind of closure you want to see. Do you want to see a ribbon closure? Do you want to see a magnet closure? Do you want me to add another piece to create that closure? I want you to tell me what you want to see, something you've been wanting to learn.
Also, if there's something on the inside you'd like to see me add, by the way, we already have our inserts. Let me show you. These cut from our file, right? They need to be inked and decorated, but look, they can all go inside these little pockets. They're perfect for that. Or you can flip them over and mat with them, which you may see me doing a bunch of that. We'll see. But on Friday, I'm going to decorate this little guy. So I want you to come back and see what we do to make it super cute. Looks kind of plain now, doesn't it? But we're going to make it adorable. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this answered your questions about that file. I hope you're able to figure out your brother's scan and cut, or just cut this out by hand and make a super cute envelope album. Now, I know you're going to ask me, I forgot to mention this chipboard comes from my friend Edith at scrapbookingwithme.com. It's a really nice, thick black chipboard, and I got that from her. Her website again, scrapbookingwithme.com. All right, guys, I'll see you on Friday when we'll decorate this dude up. Be sure to put suggestions in the comments below of this video to let me know what you want to see me do to this album. All right, talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.